This is Romo Dunze, and you're listening to the Ballsville Podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Welcome in, gamers. This is going to be the very first episode of the DynastyVille Podcast presented by Ballsville, where we combine fantasy football and poker, which creates big payouts with great odds. I'm here with JoJo today. We're going to be talking a little bit of Dynasty, maybe get into we won't get into much today, but we'll get into a couple of things, our to-do list, basically. So how's it going, JoJo?
I'm pretty good. You know, I got my nightly NFL Network on just to have the ticker going, just in case any news drops. Obviously, they got the training camp updates, but excited to get this thing rolling. You know, we kind of went from Rookieville to DynastyVille. Pretty good segue, wouldn't you say? So ready to get this thing locked and loaded, man.
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, we won't get into too much today. We just want to give you all a quick overview about what we're going to talk about on here. We're going to really break down a bunch of things later on during the season. Before the season, obviously we're coming up quick. Like JoJo said, he's got the breakdown of the training camp. He's got a big Raiders game coming up this weekend. So
Thursday.
Yeah, exactly.
Thursday.
Who's going to be the starting quarterback over there Thursday? Do they know?
Actually, I do not know that one. I did not look at the recent updates. But of course, you know, just the main starters typically don't play as much. So even if Gino might get his first series, most likely, I mean, that's what I assume. But I'll look at some of that tonight at the end of this pod. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit on the main pod that Joe Burrow is actually going to be out there. So, but to get into just a little bit what we're going to talk about. So we have 32 Dynasty leads in Ballsville. There's 16 Dragons. 4 of which I think were created 2 years ago, and then a bunch of them were created a year ago, and then we had a couple of startups, and then we had 16 new Dynasty leagues this year, and the Heroes, all of which were drafted, you know, earlier in the season. We all did them basically cookie cutter, I think derbies, or I think they were actually randomized, if I remember correctly. They were randomized, and then we did a rookie draft separate, you know. I think they were derbies. They were derbies because then you had to pick your spot, and then you got your rookie pick based on that, and you could trade it and all that. So bunch of cookie cutter stuff. I think our last rookie draft, and that's we covered that on the Rookieville pod, just finished up. That was 6 out of 16 of the Dragons, Toothless. That one just finished this past week. I think
it was actually like Monday, a couple days ago.
Yeah, it started last week, ended early this week. But so we're going to actually cover all of those leads in these episodes. That's going to be our first to-do list. We're going to try to drop 3 or 4 episodes a week up until basically game 1. We may even go to a week or 2 if we have to cover them all, because we want to get to them all. We're going to cover past winners if there were any. We're going to cover the draft if it happens recently. We're going to cover the rookie draft if we need to. We're going to cover some big trades maybe that were in the league. We're going to cover it all. We're going to try to talk about who the winner was, if the winner, you know, bet their money, if they ended up on the leaderboard, anything like that. You know, there's some big winners. I think Jerry B was actually our big winner in Dynasty. We're going to talk a lot about him. I think he's in quite a few other Dynasty leagues. And then we have me and my JoJo and myself that are in a lot of Dynasty leagues, if we won any last year, anything like that. But yeah, we're going to cover it all. And then after we finish up that little series of talking about all the leads, we're going to continue with an episode or 2 a week, talking all about Dynasty drops, ads, pickups, anything else I'm missing, JoJo. What else we're going to talk about?
Strategy talk, you know, just any practical, you know, lineup advice or future advice, things to gear up for, you know, really kind of separate some of the rebuilders to contenders. You know, we don't want to be in middle ground, or no man's land. I'm sorry. No man's land is what we usually call it. So you try to find a way not to let the bottom drop out completely in Dynasty, right? You know, these are just some of like the core values that you have to have playing this format. But you know, we're here to also make this more engaging with you guys too. I think, Connor, I don't think you would object to, you know, people leaving comments even on this episode. You know, Ballsville gamers, you know, if you're in any of these Dynasty leagues, drop comment. Let us know what you want us to cover. Maybe it's like a small little question or a trade that you made, you might want to analyze, things like that, or just us to take a look at it. Just like what we think about your league, anything like that. So feel free, like, subscribe, drop a comment.
Yeah, definitely. Just like Jojo said, I want all the comments that we can get. We want to know specifics about these leagues, anything that you want us to cover, any questions you have, any teams you want us to cover, any games, anything like that you want us to cover on these specific leagues. We'd love to do. So the way it's going to
Especially
work,
like trade proposals that they get, right? Like, hey, I'm kind of like on the fence about this kind of thing. So
yeah, anything like that. The way it's going to work. So this is going to be episode 1. Episode 2 will cover leagues 1 and 1. So it'll cover 1 out of 16 in the Dragons and 1 out of 16 in the Heroes. And then episode 3 would obviously cover 2 out of 16 in the Dragons, 2 out of 16 in the Heroes, and so on and so forth, all the way until we get out of 16 for both. And then, like we said, we'll cover tons of different topics after that, answer any questions we have, anything like that. But yeah, so without further ado, we'll introduce our next few episodes coming up. We're going to drop this, leave a like, comment. Please comment any questions you have about any leads, specifics you want us to cover, anything like that. But yeah, anything else to add, JoJo?
I mean, look, we want to give them a little something on this episode, Cotter. Like, do you have a Dynasty player? I'm going to put you on the spot, so I hope you have something here. That I guess by season's end is going to be a name that either you're going to be trading a lot for, because you might even have one on your roster already, but like just someone that's going to have a value change, whether that's positive or negative. I'll put it that way for you.
Okay, positive or negative. Okay. The player I'm trying to get a hold of early right now, like either I've traded for him like recently, or I've traded for, or I've either try to get a share of him somehow, is Tyler Warren.
There you go.
I think he's going to end up with the Brock Bowers range of tight ends, and Trey McBride's. I think he's going to be in the top 3 after the season's end. I think he's already up there with 5, 6, 7, maybe sometimes. But I've seen him fall into the second round. He just fell into the second round of Toothless, and I was like,
you snatched him up for a 2027.
I was like, I have a competing team. My 26th pick is not going to be very, or I think it was my 27th pick actually. It's not going to be very high, hopefully. So I was like, I want Tyler Warren on my roster. I was weak at tight end anyway, so I think Tyler Warren, it would be my major value change. I mean, what do you think? Who's yours?
Dude, I might be the same position group, man. I'll just choose Colston Loveland because I'm thinking that, and I chose him, and I think of it on the Toothless review episode. I said I was probably leaning Tyler Warren, and I bet you that's why, like, when it passed, you were like, okay. Yeah. So, but the reason I went there is because even from that time to now, I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna just sip the Kool-Aid on Ben Johnson recreating possibly what he did in Detroit, and I think he really saw a lot of Sam Laporta traits in Colston Loveland. He's a move tight end. That's a key piece in his offense. So, like you, I think Colston Loveland can be up there with the Trey McBride, Sam Laportas, and Brock Bowers as well. So, that's funny that we're both in the same position group with this. So, if you have one of those 2 tight ends right now, you should feel pretty good about yourself for the future of that position and kind of solidifying that right now.
Yeah, that's crazy that we had that. And it's also crazy that we just talked about the Toothless draft and you actually selected Loveland 111. Is that right?
111, yeah.
111. And then I was like, Tyler Warner would go the 112, so I'm not even going to worry about it.
He went Matthew Golden. I was so shocked. I couldn't believe it.
He slid to the 201 and was like, I'm just going to send this offer. I just need him. I think this will go through. It gets accepted. And the dude at the 112 is like, I would have taken that for my 112. And they ended up trading. So the guy I traded for the 2027 pick actually traded my pick for Matthew Golden. So he actually moved up from the 201 to the 112 without doing anything.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's just another dynasty move you can make, whether you agree with it or not, whether I, messed up or whatever. We'll cover all that in our opinions and stuff, and always welcome to chime in. So, man. Without anything else, please tune in for all our other episodes that we'll have coming up. Hopefully it's a long season of great dynasty talk and stuff like that. But that's a wrap on this episode.
It's a wrap.
That's a wrap.